Hey guys, so we've actually been moving to a new, bigger office, and so I haven't done a video over the past few weeks, and I wanted to do a market update for Bitcoin since my last video, which was back here, was titled How to Prepare for the Cryptocurrency Bear Market, and even though it got over 90% thumbs up, there were still a lot of people that misunderstood what that video was really all about, and I could tell that a lot of people either commented just after reading the headline or kind of skipping through the video. And so I just want to talk about what the market's done and why it's actually healthy for Bitcoin's price when there's crashes. And so the main point of my last video was actually to get people asking the question and answering this for themselves. Do I have a plan for when the market pulls back, 30, 40% or more, or do you just panic sell at the bottom like a lot of people end up doing? And just to kind of handle a couple misconceptions from the last video, I am a believer in Bitcoin, and I know that cryptocurrency is changing the world, and I've actually been net long, meaning I've been an investor in Bitcoin since 2013, and I also trade the bigger market cycles. So, the people that were commenting in the last video, like, Chris, you don't understand, Bitcoin's going to the moon because of X, Y, and Z. Like, I get it. I just want to help you guys think in terms of market cycles and how to trade and invest the right way. So in the last video, the real kind of point of that whole thing was talking about three price possibilities, right? I think so many people were just focused on the idea that the price is going to go up forever without any kind of pullback. And when you get disillusioned like that, that's when people tend to make emotional investment decisions and buy the top and then sell the bottom. And so my biggest possibility that I saw for Bitcoin to do was to do a pullback and then see the trend continue. Or the third possibility was we go parabolic, right? Like if Bitcoin went up several $1,000s in just a couple of days and that was unsustainable, then we might see a longer term bear trend. And so you can see what happened. After I posted the video, price kept trending up and then found resistance at a big round number of 5,000. And the market tends to move off of big round numbers just because that's where a lot of people focus on, right? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And we also had a couple of news catalysts through here. By now, you've probably heard about the China ban. China, it wants nothing to do with cryptocurrencies. Also, you had JP Morgan that was coming out and saying that Bitcoin was a fraud, and then they actually bought the dip. And so what happened, just to kind of drill down, on this day, this big, nasty, red, scary panic day was September 14th. What I did is I actually tweeted and I said, look, guys, if China wants to keep playing games and fall behind with crypto, I say adios. The train is going to keep moving without them. And, I don't tend to get too political in my videos, but I will say this. Governments that either ban or severely restrict cryptocurrencies may feel like they have more control in the short term, but really all they're doing is stealing prosperity from their citizens in the long term, right? So again, if countries like China want to ban cryptocurrencies, right, they may be doing it for ulterior motives, but at the end of the day, I'm looking at countries like Korea and Japan and Singapore and other places that are embracing and actually encouraging cryptocurrency innovation, right? Those are the places that are actually going to see more prosperity over the long term. Now, news catalysts like the China ban or the JP Morgan BS, they tend to cause price action to do what it needed to do anyway, right? And the reason why I posted the bear market video was I just felt like Bitcoin was due for a pullback, right? That doesn't mean that I'm a non-believer in Bitcoin or anything like that. I just think that when a market goes up 500% in 9 months, that it needs to pull back, right? And you can see that from the highs of 5,000, this was actually the biggest dollar pullback ever, right? It crashed about $2,000 or 40%, which was actually the biggest pullback of the year. And if you look back since the beginning of the year, this is actually the sixth, yes, half a dozen times Bitcoin has pulled back over 30%. just in 2017 alone, right? And if you look here, the first part of 2017 pulled back about 35% in a week or two. Here in March, pulled back about 30% in a few weeks. Then here again in late May, had a really nice parabolic run and then had a 3-day slide for about 30%. And then a little bit later in June, and then follow up in July, right? So just because the market pulls back doesn't mean that the market's dead or that the trend is over, right? These are actually healthy for price action, right? And that's why, you hear a lot of people saying, buy the dip, right? And when you're in a long-term bull trend, that strategy continues to work very well. And that's why we actually sent a trade alert on the 14th, showing our trading community the major buy zone at 3,000 and why we bought the bounce around 3,200, right? And then why just a few days later, after the bounce, we actually closed the short-term trade, or at least took some profit around the $4,000 mark, right? So this is why, I just think it's a great idea to be both an investor long-term in Bitcoin and also trade these big ranges, right? When you have volatile moves of 30, 40, 50% in a market, that just creates a lot of opportunity if you know how to handle your emotions and if you can trade the right side of the market. And talking about market cycles, I really like this blog post from Peter Diamandis, which talks about the 5 stages of the hype cycle. It's also called the Gartner hype cycle. And, in this blog post, he says that humans are famously bad at predicting the future of technologies. We tend to overestimate technology's abilities in the near term and then massively underestimate what they can do in the long term. And I actually see this happening with ICOs right now, right? And this applies to every type of technology like AI, 3D printing, robotics, blockchain, any really new exciting technology goes through this cycle. And just to give you kind of an overview, at first, step one, you have the technology trigger, right? First, you have the creation of new technology. People get really excited about what this technology could do, right? The hypothetical applications, and then seeing all the future potential with few of the downsides. And then the hype begins to build, and then you have unfounded excitement and inflated expectations. And I think we're seeing this with a lot of ICOs, right? I'm getting pitches, about a dozen pitches every day, promote my ICO, promote my ICO. And I think what's going to happen is we're going to go through a trough of delusionment where some of these ICOs fail to deliver what they promised, right? Because that will happen. An ICO is just another way of fundraising, and it's no different than any other startup environment where most of them fail over time, right? And so what's going to happen is when some of these start to unravel, you're going to see the price of certain cryptocurrencies go down because of that. And then we're going to enter the slope of enlightenment, right? This is where, after some failures, after some things blow up and after some cryptocurrencies go to zero, you're going to see the slope of enlightenment where this is where you start to see rapid advancements that surpass even our wildest expectations. And for the past 5 years or so, I've said Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are going to change the world in ways that we still don't understand, right? From entrepreneurship, real estate transactions, it's going to touch everything from healthcare to supply chain management, everything, right? And then after we see some just massive advancements, we're going to go into the plateau of productivity where people just kind of take the technology for granted, right? So I would just encourage you, again, the reason why I do these videos is to help you see the cycles, help you see the emotion in the price action, and invest and trade in a smart way. So if you got some value from this video, or if it was helpful, like it up, share it with somebody that you think could get some value from it. If you have a question, leave me a comment, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you, and talk to you soon.